live. Hey, look, my name's Paul Ash, but with me here, exactly here with me, is the fantastic Justin Shaw. Originally from Prince Edward Island, he's a comedian who's toured across the country. He's done comedy across the country. He's also an actor, improviser, podcast host. He's young, he's talented, so I have plenty of reasons to hate him. So here we are. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm flattered that you still think I'm young, and I'm amazed
It's
to learn you
comparative.
ever. Yeah, I'm amazed to learn you ever thought I was talented. So surprises all around. This is it's good to hear.
Uh, I don't think I've been that sparse on any kind of flattery
Well,
to you.
well, I appreciate it. You know me. Anytime you say "good show, Justin," in my head, I was like, "What's wrong with the other shows?" It's me. But like I said when we were chatting earlier, what happens at BattleCom stays at BattleCom.
It should not stay at Battlecom. There's an entire YouTube channel for people who want to check out Battlecom.
It's true.
Uh, we will. I don't know if I'll get the link up in time for people to see that, but yes, that does exist. Battlecom is a thing that Justin is. I would like to consider you a bit of a regular on it. You're also co-hosting Half a Star with
Yes,
your best friend in life. Your is would we call it the heterosexual life partner Ben?
I think
Just
so. I often say we're closer than brothers, less than married. That's kind of where it is. But yeah, we host a regular podcast together. Right now, it's season one is done. We're just kind of messing around until we get the guests lined up for season two. Still smoothing things out. So we're keep an eye on our channel. We've got weird stuff coming out every so often. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And well, okay, just pretty much the best link to find anything about Justin is justindshaw.com. So the D is for Douglas.
It
And
is.
he's pointing down as I'm saying the D, which was um,
The D is for down.
Douglas. It's for Douglas.
Yeah.
It is for Douglas. If you are joining us, and hi, for those of you who are joining us, I see that we have viewers. Please drop a
Good.
question into the comments, or just tell us where you're watching from, what you're drinking. And this is my sober show generally. Uh, Justin, you have been described as the Stuart McLean of Montreal when you were still in Montreal.
I guess.
And also, I don't know if you're the Stuart McLean of Hamilton now or the young Stuart McLean. You've also been the Guy Smiley
Yeah.
of Canadian comedy.
Yeah.
Uh, you feel so happy with those descriptors. I can
Uh,
see it on your face. Your acting should be a little bit better. I know you're a talented actor, so take those compliments with stride, no matter how badly they seem to fit. Just yeah,
compliment dinner. Yum
eat
yum.
it up, eat it up. How would you though describe your comedy?
Oh God. I describe him as Cheryl Shaw's baby boy trying his best, making his way in the city. Uh, yeah. The
Hi,
Stuart
Cheryl.
Cheryl, if she might be watching. The Guy Smiley thing. I think I'm responsible for that just because I made a joke about it at BattleCom using Guy Smiley as a reference, and then I did a Guy Smiley impression, which I think some thought was spot on, and I think I
And
won the
not very
round.
different for you. Uh,
Yeah, just the intensity. What's funny to me is Guy Smiley is the impression of Guy Smiley is the exact same as Lauren Elliott, a comedian slash playwright, originally from the East Coast, Canadian
no.
celebrated playwright. That's actually his poster for a show I did with him a while ago.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. He's Montreal born and bred. Uh,
yes,
he went to Newfoundland to go to the university in St. John's, Newfoundland, which the name it begins with M, and it escapes me now.
I knew he had a connection to the East Coast and a connection
Montreal.
to Montreal. I just didn't know which direction. You could say he was madly off in
In
all directions.
all directions. You really you fit so much of like the CBC check marks.
I
It,
know.
It's
I'm
like if somebody in the 70s has said we got to make the perfect CBC personality, and they were still thinking white male was okay.
I
That
know.
was
Unfortunately, for me, at least the clock keeps going forward. But for the rest of the world, it's fantastic.
it
It's
is.
it is.
It's not a complaint on my behalf.
You've heard it here first. I am not the center of the universe. I'm not even the center of my own apartment. I'm not even an essential worker in my own apartment. It's a bit of a drag. But yeah, I think we're talking about Guy Smiley for some reason.
Yeah, your comedic styling.
I do need to. I'm not going to say put to rest, but the Stuart McLean thing, however, no idea. I have no clue, Paul. Like, I've gotten flashes of John Mulaney in the past, only because he was getting into influences later, like who inspired me. He was a big inspiration for me when I was starting out. But Stuart McLean, nothing. I enjoy his stories. I'm not trying to carve out a legacy inspired by Stuart McLean. I'm near my bookshelf. I'm looking. I don't even know if I have one of his books, but he's cool. Sure.
I would have to say it's the fact that he's a storyteller like you are, and you have a very practiced speech pattern. I mean, I don't mean to say it sounds, but you have great diction. You have a very consistent tone, and it's very friendly, and at the same time feels like you are delivering a story that people could truly get their teeth into.
This is, I think, the first time I've ever heard an impression of me.
No, that was so badly. That was not really an impression. It was of the same style, but obviously.
Normally, people make fun of me behind my back, so I'm grateful to have it to my face with a screen in between us. But yeah, no, I'm trained as an actor. I don't know if they're responsible for my speech pattern. I don't know if it's my East Coast upbringing. It just kind of how I talk. I've done a lot of voice classes where, like, not like voice acting, but like just really connecting to your breath, speaking on supported breath. So, oftentimes, if I'm really getting choked up about something emotionally, it doesn't happen, I think, at all in my material, but in like life, it gets more stuck in my throat. But generally, I do speak like now, just speak with supported breath. And I don't know, that's kind of the boring answer, the really technical one. I mean, this show kind of is insider baseball anyway. So if you find this interesting, power to you.
I do, and the fact is, and wow, we sort of just doubled our viewership, and I don't mean that we have two, we have more than that. So please say hello, hit the like button,
say hi,
because that means a lot to a small channel like this, and tell us where you're watching from, or if you have any questions for Justin, please just drop them into the chat. There is, but you're not denying the storyteller. You have a tendency to kind of flip to the absurd, to exaggerate for comedic purposes. Oh, hey, Tim Rocliffe is tuning in.
My boy,
the boy who watches when you move. Is this the new apartment, by the way?
This is Tim. This is the digs. Viewers, listeners, if you've watched me on Paul's other shows or even Tim Riel's shows, Tim Rocliffe is always on, always checking out what's happening, and we chat on Twitter every so often. And I only know him through this context. So, what a world! Can't wait to meet you in person someday.
Tim Rocliffe is an incredibly nice guy and a great supporter of Canadian comedy. So thank you, Tim, for tuning in. There is now. You mentioned you went to theater school. You went to NTS, the National Theater School, which is based in Montreal.
Yes.
What other educational places did you go for?
Other training I have before I went to National Theater School. I did my undergrad at the University of Prince Edward Island. I studied history, actually, with a minor in theater studies. And it was, as I was finishing up my undergrad, I was really hooked, and I knew this was something I wanted to pursue more in my life. And I knew National Theater School, it's one of the top accredited institutions in the country. So I kind of put all my eggs in one basket, tried my best, and I had a lot of support from the theater professor at UPEI, Dr. Greg Doran, who was a terrific mumentor in my life. And he really opened the door and helped me take those first steps. And I got into the school, moved to Montreal, and the rest, I'm trying to remember the rest of the Beverly Hillbillies theme song. Swimming pools, movie stars. Wow, I ain't never seen buildings this high before.
And comedy in donair shops.
Yeah, that's where we met. It's true.
That's where we met. Now, do you feel that you bring more performance to stand-up than other stand-up comics do, or what do you think having a background in acting does to affect your stand-up?
Personally, if it weren't for other comedians, I would think, for me, this is how I've always known, like, it's just how I do it. But I will say, in Montreal, when I really got started doing stand-up, like with more seasoned people who were like doing the grind at more regularly, as opposed to like when I was just kind of doing occasional stuff in Charlottetown. Whenever I started out and I was very green, and I'd go up, do my act, make people laugh after, I remember some people coming up to me saying, "How long you been doing stand-up?" And I was like barely a year. Why? And they're like, "What are you doing in Montreal?" And I said, "I'm going to theater school." They'd go, "That explains it," and then leave.
Was I one of those people?
You might have been. I just remember my first year in Montreal, people I still am like friends with to this day, and it was always with like a tone of like, here we go. We got this guy who's just walking on stage, doesn't care about, I don't know. I've never really had the sense of stage fright in stand-up, at least. I'm always just experimenting, always trying to be present on stage in varying degrees now that I'm becoming more and more self-aware, as if I need to be more self-aware. I will say, I don't know if this is related to this question, but the one time I know I was really quite terrified on stage was my first professional gig, and it was opening for the weekend headliner at Comedy Works. Like first time, it was back when they used to have the challenge where you come to the open mics. If the audience votes you as like the top comic, if you get that 3 times, if you amass that over 3 times, you get a weekend spot. And I got it. And I was like, yeah, finally, like I'm doing it. I put in the work, but you know, I'm sure anyone watching who also does comedy knows there's a world of difference between what you bring as a comedian doing open mics, like as a writer, as a performer, as the everything. That whole relationship, that whole vibe is so different compared to a Monday or Tuesday open mic versus a paying late night audience on a Friday or Saturday. Very, very different expectations. And boy, was that a learning experience. It was, I still talk about this. It's, I feel like I saw a car crash. I go there, the Friday, it was a 2-show day. I go up on the Friday and am I allowed to swear here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This has been listed for not for kids. So
I ate shit. Like the first set, Like it was like bad, but like I wasn't sure if it was me, you know, that like you leave the stage.
That's what the second show was for?
Yeah, you're just like, that was 50% my fault at most. Like that couldn't have all been me. The second show, even more people, the whole first 2 rows, and this isn't a huge space, like the first 2 like sections right near the stage were people from Fredericton, from New Brunswick. And I'm like, East Coast. So I'm like, yes, you'll love me. I was maybe 20, 23, 24 at the time. These people were late 40s. And again, world of difference. They don't care what I have to say. And I'm going up first. I'm taking bullet for like the real. Do
you remember who was hosting?
Or Rodney Ramsey.
Very likable guy, capable host.
Awesome guy. I remember, I think everybody who was on, it was Rodney Ramsey was the host.
This speaks to the trauma of the evening if you remember every single act.
Am I allowed to? What's his name? He does like stuff on TV now. It's like hockey stuff. It's not Andrew something. Anyway, there's that guy whose name I forget, but I remember him. Andrew Barr, who is so funny, like frustratingly funny, and Christoph Davidson is the headliner, who's wicked. So anyway, got these pros. Me, second show, got my East Coast peeps. I'm gonna go up. It's gonna be killer. A girl I liked was coming to watch, and I was like, I am God. I went up on stage. It was like, sometimes they laugh, sometimes they don't laugh. This was like negative laughter. Like the silence was like I owed them silence to make up for the deficit of air and space that existed between us in that moment. And nothing has come close to comparing to that sense of utter foolishness and failure in my gut. And as I'm there, usually like you get the light, wrap it up in a minute, get off. You're done. I'm not getting a light. Rodney, and this isn't his fault. Rodney, he was at the back of the club. He was chatting with somebody, and I'm dying. And because there's no laughter, I'm like ahead
through material.
I burned like my God, just burning right through it. And so I'm standing there, and I'm like, well, I think that's my time. And I'm expecting, because they usually have music comes on, host comes on, you leave, you go get a drink. The only thing of those 3 things that did happen was I got a drink. The host, Rodney, was busy because I had like at least less than another minute. Like it wasn't that bad, but it was definitely like 4.5 minutes. I'm standing there, no music, no host. I'm like, someone should be here soon. There's definitely supposed to be music. And then there's beat. Someone should be here soon. Rock, 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 rock and roll high school. Rock, 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 rock and roll high school. No one's laughing. The look on these people's faces, like he said, he's from our home, our neck of the woods. What planet is he even from?
40-year-olds from Fredericton probably are in Montreal to be away from 20-year-olds from the Maritimes.
Some college puke. Rodney comes up, takes the mic. Walter Lang, who was running Comedy Works at the time, he gets to his computer like to get the music going proper, and he goes, I don't know what that was, but that can't happen tomorrow. So I got to come back because I won. I feel, in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, whenever all the kids like get murdered in the factory until they get to Charlie, who's like the good kid. I was all of those other kids. And I'm like, I don't know if this golden ticket was really worth it. But I'm still here believing in magic. The next day, I dug through old notebooks, was looking for anything like that was get a reaction from the audience, something, and I just start writing again. I'm practicing talking in the bathroom, like to the mirror, just going. Really redeveloped a whole new practice overnight with new material, stuff that I hadn't done either of the other shows. Came back on, and just by sheer desperation and like summoning some energy and some life, it went so much better. Like there was laughs. And I remember, and I can only mention Rodney in the story because after the show on Saturday, he was like, that's how you do it. That's better. Like, thank God. So it turned around, but oh my God, that was such a learning curve that I did not know I was about to face.
But the way you said that, the way that you said that you learned a new process, you decided to try a new process in writing, and that process being going through the old notebooks,
Yes,
and then reevaluating with how it worked.
yeah, with obviously now it's a little bit different. At that time, I don't think I was recording my sets yet. I was still like in the, like, I don't know how green I was. I mean, I got a weekend spot. I couldn't have been that bad. But I definitely wasn't nearly as quote unquote polished with my material or my writing. Not that I'm saying I am now, but I did watch an old tape that I recorded sometime after that. I think it was the following year. I just set up a camcorder just to watch. I watched it then. I was like, yeah, I'm fantastic. I'm sending this to JFL. Recently, I found the memory card it was on. I rewatched it, and I was like, who the hell is this malnourished kid? Like, what's he going through? But now,
what drugs gave him confidence?
Yeah, where is this false confidence coming from? It's my parents, my love. Now I record my set depending on the room. I'll got my phone here. I'll record the audio if it's kind of like a small room or if it's hard just to film. Other places like Levity and Hamilton, I know they have like a little shelf in the back of the room. I think they have one in Comedy Nest too, where you can kind of set up your camera and film it. So really it's just reviewing and watching, noting where the laughs are, and maybe more important. I don't know if it's more important, but where the laughs aren't. Something that's helpful is transcribing your sets word for word. I know you write it before you go on, but come back and write out what you're saying. Like, what's the economy of words that you have in your material? But yeah, keep the good ones. Get rid of the not good ones. And you only know what works if you do it. Like, you got to go out and do it. I wouldn't recommend doing what I did on that Saturday. I only did it because I knew what I thought was working. What got me there wasn't working there. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I got to do something.
Now, you mentioned talking to yourself in the mirror. Do you find, because you do have a particular cadence when you're performing, do you find that rehearsing to yourself, speaking it out loud, maybe recording yourself before you ever do it the first time live, or?
I definitely say it out loud. I don't know if it's always to a mirror. I think instinctively sometimes I catch a reflective surface, and that might be the ego in me just wanting to see myself, like see how it looks. But yeah, no, I always say it out loud. I always try to move with it if I can on my feet. There's a big difference between like just sitting with the book and just kind of looking at it versus like getting out and working it on your feet. Over the holidays, I had a few gigs virtually that it's a different thing, different environment. And I really want to not just bring new material, but like stuff that like, how do I prepare for this? What I would do is I would write a joke like on the computer, get get on my feet without looking, try to say how much of it I could remember just off the dome. Some new stuff would come from that. I don't know if I recorded me just practicing it or not. I might have listened back, but just to be like, oh, what came from that felt that need to speak, that need to say this about the subject that was kind of funny. Write that down, then just kind of keep going back and forth with that process until you have something that you feel is ready. And yeah.
You're getting a little bit of fracturing. I don't know. You're on Wi-Fi or on Ethernet?
Oh, I'm on Wi-Fi.
If you go to your camera settings, sorry for the technical kind of thing in there. It was nice stop motion. We could hear you fine, but there was a little bit of stop motion in there. Okay. If you want to just go into the cam and mic settings and maybe where it says more settings, take it down maybe one quality. Oh, but you can still hear me. We can still hear you, right, Justin? Let's just bring you back in so we can actually. All right.
What am I clicking on in advanced settings?
Yeah, if you go to show advanced and it says camera resolution, just go for one less than the one that you're currently at.
Oh, so, how's that?
Yeah, still looks good, and I'm not seeing the delay that we had been getting. Thank you, everybody who's been watching through that. That should change. Should make it kind of better. Now,
not that my process makes sense to anyone else but me. Anyway, I'm not writing a book on this. It's just and just to kind of speak to anyone who's watching this who maybe does comedy or wants to do comedy and they're just looking for ways. Your process, like my process and Paul's process, other people's, that's distinct to them. Like this is just only what I've kind of stumbled upon that works for me. But that only has happened from years of practice. Like just, and that practice isn't just in your living room or in your workroom. The workroom is the stage. The workroom is with an audience. Like that's rehearsal. This is stand-up for me is like theater, but with immediate dramaturgy, with immediate script work. Yeah, I don't know. Just for Laughs, I guess, is like the Stratford Festival of comedy. Commercially speaking. Anyway.
I really think that Just for Laughs should take that as like a subtitle. Tim
commercially
had a good question saying, as a history major and a comedian, which era of history? He's learned a lot about you, by the way. Which era of history is underappreciated for its comic climate?
Oh boy. I don't, that's a funny question. I don't know what would be underappreciated. For me, the era of history that I find quite fascinating is American history, but I don't think we need more of that. I just think it's such it's a bit of a dumpster fire right now, especially. So I don't know if it's underappreciated. Anything women's history, frankly, I'm definitely not the person to explore that. I don't think there's just a lot of things just not given the attention it deserves. Suffragette movement, I'm sure someone who's interested in feminist history, I think there's more to that than it's been given credit for. And I just think we can go deeper with it. And I mean, that's that's a symptom of the patriarchy, and we're making steps, but there's still miles of work ahead. Comedically though, I did my honors thesis in the history of theater in London in the 18th century. And boy, let me tell you, what a hoot. What a hoot. Okay. All right. We'll go into it. This is for Tim, my boy. An anecdote from 18th century London. Legendary actor, legendary mofo, Charles Macklin. He's the man at, I think, Covent Garden or Drury Lane, one of the two. I don't remember. Covent Garden, let's say. He's working backstage, getting ready, scene changes, And who comes along but this like novice actor, this Justin Shaw circa Comedy Works 2015 son of a bitch, comes walking in and he's wearing his wig. He's wearing Charles Macklin's wig. And Macklin's like, yo, bro, it's my wig. And the guy's like, I believe it is the company's wig. And then Macklin's like, hold my earrings. No, it's not. And they're getting into it. Macklin's getting worked up. The other guy's being cool as a cucumber, just knowing that he's technically right. Kind of like those kids that are like, it's 12:01, it's tomorrow. That's a Mulaney bit. Anyway, so argument, it's not getting anywhere. The young actor is just like, you know what? I'm ending this. I got a scene to do. He turns to leave, but in that same motion, Charles Macklin goes for his cane and he goes to whack him on the back. And so he goes to hit him in the back, but just as he's swinging, the actor, one more thing, the cane right through the eye, through the back of the head. So he speared him. Macklin is frozen, pulls it out, and it's one of those like, do I take it out? Do I leave it in? What do I do? They're panicking. There are witnesses. Everyone's like, oh my God. The guy's like, I got a stick in my eye. Macklin, he's a sensible man, somewhat. He's hot-tempered, but he's like, okay. Let's think. What's the best scientific practice that we have? We need to put alcohol in the wound. Is there any blast? Wait, there's alcohol in my urine. So he pees in the man's eye. And surprisingly, it doesn't do anything. And so Macklin runs away, which I can't say I blame him. They find him. I can only imagine in a treehouse, like 2 days later, like, Charles, you got to come. He's like, I'm not saying sorry. It's like, no, you're not saying sorry. Really? Yeah, no, he's dead. You killed a man. You have to go to trial. And so he goes to trial. The Old Bailey records, they reveal that Charles Macklin decided to treat the courtroom as a theater, speaking on his own defense. And he pled not guilty, but he did get charged with manslaughter, and he was to be branded. I think it was with the letter M, to be branded on him for manslaughter. But it was a cold rod that branded him. So a cold piece of metal doesn't really do much. There's no indication as to why. It just said a cold brand was his punishment. Further research in the Old Bailey, a cold brand often occurred if a criminal or a third party bribed the person in the prison. He bribed his way out.
Bribe the brander.
I know. That's what I call brand management. Hey-oh, what's up? Thank you.
All right, talk about brands, and since we've mentioned the place fairly often, do you remember the old Comedy Works logo?
Yeah, it was hey, that's cool. It's that neon vibes.
This is actually doesn't say Comedy Works.
Comedy Gang.
The Comedy Gang, which is a retake on that, which was designed by Zach Kick here in Montreal.
I love that.
And printed by John Ray, another Montreal comedian. So
I want one. John Ray, I know him.
Yeah, contact them. Contact Zach, and that's how you get them. I don't know if they're printing up anymore. They did like a little limited run at first. This is not a sponsored thing. I'm just
a cool T-shirt.
Yeah, kind of mentioning it because all that there is a lot of history involving comedy. Like, I won't be able to give quite the thing you did, but have you ever heard of Pimpette du Noyer?
No. What's
that? She was she grew disillusioned with I think the French Revolution. I'm not sure exactly the exact time period, but she moved to Brussels.
Okay.
Uh, and a young official from the French government was there and dated her daughter, who was a little bit older than he was, and sent a lot of erotic poetry to this woman, and then broke her heart and moved back to France,
Huh.
and started his writing career under the name of Voltaire. So the mother of this scorned older woman decided to start publishing and editing the quality of the writing of Voltaire's dirty letters. So
And that
she was
became
already
the
publishing.
first penthouse.
Possibly. Yeah, she was. She is. There's a little bit of an associations from with the one-handed novels, but she was doing more. She's also sort of like the creator of the first newspaper, the first.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So way back at that time.
I don't know if it, for both of our stories, I don't know if it was comedy or spite that were the driving factors. But honestly, if we're talking about practice and process, spite is a tremendous asset to have.
I'm gonna show them.
I'll show them all. I'll show those New Brunswickers in the front row. I'll come back tomorrow with even stupider jokes that they'll laugh at. So at least I get a reaction. What do you mean they're not coming to both shows? Isn't that how this works? Isn't this part one, part two? Show business.
All right. Since he was mentioned just recently, and it was something you were a little bit unprepared for. You've actually shared the stage with John Mulaney. And I know
Yes.
Tim has
Yes.
heard the story, but for any of the other watchers, do you want to tell the story about sharing the stage with
Yeah.
John Mulaney doing Shakespeare?
It's only a story I tell at least 15 times a year. So it's a new year. So I think this is the first time. It was actually the same year I had that crisis on stage. I was a big fan of John Mulaney, and he came into Montreal, and he it was right before Comeback Kid. I think he was touring that special. So I go. None of my friends knew who he was, is what I tell myself as to why they didn't want to come with me. So I buy a ticket, and it's general seating. So I'm like, I'm going to take the front row, and one seat left in this whole space. I take it. I'm sitting there, got my little jacket on. I'm so excited to be there, seeing my hero just 7 feet away from me. And all I wanted was for him to give me the wink and the nod. Like, just to be like, hey, bud, what's up? You probably have a similar presence as me. We give off a similar vibe. I was just hoping he would notice me. All I wanted was the wink and the nod. He goes into his set 5 minutes in. Hilarious. Crowd. Yes. You could say anything. Spit in my mouth. You're my hero. I'm here, still coat on, watching like a child. Eventually, he noticed me because, of course, he did. I was practically leaning on the stage. He goes, "You're still wearing your jacket." Oh, I was. I forgot to take it off, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. But I also knew he's the funniest person in the room. No matter what I say, it's going to be so hilarious. I'm the victim here. He's like, "Why are you wearing your jacket?" And I go, "Oh, it's cold in here." He goes, "Oh, anyone else cold in here?" Whole chorus of "no" from across the auditorium. So he's like, "I think you're lying. What are you really doing?" So I get embarrassed. I start to take my coat off, and he goes, No, I didn't mean. Now I feel bad. Now we have to talk. What's your name? Justin. Justin. Cool. What do you do here, Justin? And I don't like telling people why I'm in Montreal. I'm very proud of my education, but just like early on, whenever I would be doing comedy shows, I didn't like saying I'm going to theater school, because then it's, oh, I get it now. But even more so, I don't want to say what school. He says, so what are you doing here? I go, studying theater. He goes, yeah, but where? And I don't like saying National Theater School, because then that just puts so much weight on everything. Like there's so much an expectation to succeed and perform something I'm still living with. So much pressure. They might as well be like, oh, National Theater School. Why don't you do me a monologue while juggling these knives? He turns the gears and like, National Theater School. And he goes, that sounds important. Tell me, what plays have you been in, sport? He said, well, at school, none. What? Why none? That doesn't make sense. Well, now I got to like explain. And I'm an idiot. I'm the jackass who's like giving a paragraph answer. Like, well, it's a 3-year program, and I'm currently only in the 2nd year. And the 3rd year is when we do our full-length theater productions, and I just haven't gotten there yet. He's like, so what are you talking about? Are you just doing scenes and monologues for each other with teachers and other students watching? In my head, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. You do. He goes, well, I think that's bogus. Justin, do you know any lines from any plays at all? And so immediately, like just going through the Rolodex, like what has stuck in the past several years that I've been doing theater. And I think of Shakespeare. We do a lot of Shakespeare. Think As You Like It, Touchstone, The Clown. Like, yeah, I got one. As You Like It. He goes, oh, I know that. That's by, he's struggling. I think I'll help. I go, Shakespeare? He goes, I know. I was an English major. I paid millions of dollars to read books I didn't read. Hilarious. He's like, tell you what, I think it's an injustice that you have never done a play at your school. How about you come up on stage, do some lines from that Shakespeare play, and I'll prove how much of a hack he is by acting with you. And I'll make up my own lines. I'll improve that play. What do you say? The room lets out an audible gasp. Security people come by. They're like getting a chair to like help me onto the stage. So I'm basically a walking, talking liability, even more so now that I'm about to be a foot away from John Mulaney. I get on stage. He's standing there. He's so poised and kind, just open and vulnerable. And I thought in that moment, for the briefest of seconds, as he stood across from me, I thought, what if I punched him? Like, I'm not
many people think that when they meet their heroes.
I'm not strong. I will say, not now, not ever. But I'm just thinking, if I could take him, was a thought. I'm like, if I punched him once, I would be a legend. I would be kicked out, but like everybody would remember me. Luckily, I didn't. He said, so who did you play in this Shakespeare production? I said, Touchstone. He said, like the movie studio. I said, no. He goes, now, ladies and gentlemen, Touchstone was the clown. They do little dances for the king, and they're the wise character of the whole show. Justin, give us a taste of some of this wisdom from Touchstone the Clown in William Shakespeare's As Good as It Gets. Hilarious. I deliver my line. Of a certain knight who swore by his honor that they were good pancakes, but the mustard was not. Now I'll stand to it. The pancakes were not, but the mustard was good. Yet the knight was not forsworn. Mulaney. Ah, yes, those were thine pancakes in yonder mustard. Crowd dying, laughing. He riffed on it a little bit. I'm standing like a kid. I'm content just to watch the show on stage. He lets me go, sit back down, the crowd clapping, like, you did really good. And I'm like, I can't wait to tell my mom. So in my head, I can't even process the show. I feel like I should have a cigarette. I feel like I just had sex for the first time. About a half an hour later, Mulaney's still like king of Montreal, walking the stage, sees me again, how you holding up there, Shazi? And I'm like, I'm great. He's like, what's your dream role? If you could play anything. And in my head, I've been fooled before. I'm like, you're not tricking me again. I go and think of another play that I know, that I remember lines to. And I say, Romeo from Romeo and Juliet. He goes, Romeo, why? I blank on an answer and I just go, because I think he's cool. He says, oh yeah, all 14-year-olds that kill themselves by accident are way cool. Who would be your Juliet? I didn't think I could blank twice in a row, but I just said Anna Kendrick. He goes, oh, maybe she'll sing this Cup song and bring some life into that goddamn awful play. He finishes his set. Crowd's loving him. He's adoring, and I'm just there. I'm like, how can this get any better? As he's leaving, off to stage left, he leaves, sees me one more time, the last person he sees before he exits in the wings. He gives me the wink and the nod, and he's gone. And my night is made. There is a PS. I know this is a long story. There's a PS. The first time I met comedian slash, I think she's a drag performer, Emily Bilton. Emily Bil. I don't want to assume their pronouns. I shouldn't. I apologize. Emily Bilton. I was at the laundromat and I was cleaning my socks, and I wasn't sure if they cleaned all the way through or not. I decided to smell them to see if they clean properly, because there's some issues with the machine. I'm sniffing my socks, and who I later found out was Emily Bilton goes, "Are you Justin?" And I freeze. I feel like I've been caught in a very silly crime. Like, yes. How do you know? And they're like, yeah, I saw you at Mulaney. I'm Emily. I do comedy. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And the fact that you actually mime sniffing your socks the same way a lot of people mime eating a sandwich.
I bring it really close. I don't go down. I bring it up. I get real tight. I'm a bit of I think I was a rodent in a past life. Perhaps a weasel.
Sarah Lalazar has joined us. Hi, Sarah. Yeah. Sarah is a musician and performer based out of Montreal, and also a barber now.
I need one. I think we need one.
We do. And so this, now a lot has happened in this past year. Like you moved. Did you move to Hamilton before the full quarantine thing started to happen?
I did, because the key to comedy is timing. Myself and my fiance girlfriend at the time, Diana, who's originally from Hamilton, we were living in Fort McMurray, Alberta. We were both working there, saving money. We decided, hey, let's move to Hamilton. Family, it's closer to Toronto. It's closer to anything, really. I'll work. I'll do comedy. Audition for things, and we got here February. Month later, bam, lights out. So now we got a new apartment, so it's better.
Yeah. Now in Ontario, though, there were more shows happening than in Montreal. We did a lockdown before you did.
Yes. And
you were open for a longer period, like after the preliminary lockdown, than we were.
Yes.
But touring, etc., it was kind of put on hold. The chances to do that. How did you deal with that, with the drying up of performance places?
Well, what was especially challenging was only having been there for a month. I made maybe a couple friends, a couple contacts in comedy, people just to kind of pick my brain. Someone who was really helpful to me. He's taking an extended sabbatical from comedy for his own reasons, and that's cool. So it's been like, okay, my one help was kind of gone now. But once we started opening up again, I won't, just to protect him. Okay. His name is James Butler. He's delightful. I don't know if he's doing comedy, but if he's watching or if anyone knows him, tell him I said hey. But anyway, you mentioned things got restrictions were a little different. Later in the summer, in August, some venues were starting to pop up, really random shows across the province, and I was lucky enough that the right people at the right time saw me do pretty good, and they're like, "Hey, you can ride with us. We're going to Oshawa, cool. Hey, we're going to Niagara, sweet. Toronto, sweet. Trying to think. Welland was one, random. But just all these. What was cool about Hamilton was getting to find all these like other cities about an hour or so away, and kind of just do my paces there. Still less than what I would hope, but better than nothing. But really, you with me? I didn't freeze, did I?
I'm with you. Yeah, you are doing the stop motion thing a little bit.
Okay, we cool?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm just long story short, I've just been writing, trying to find people to listen to my jokes. I've been part of a number of different writing groups where we just give ourselves deadlines. We write this amount to meet this thing. I've also been writing a new solo show, which it's like a one-person show. It was originally born out of the collected masses of all my stand-up material, everything that is story-oriented, I put together. And I worked with a great dramaturg whose name I will drop, Rob McDonald, out of the very East Coast name of Charlottetown, PEI. He's the writer in residence at the Guild. He and I traded the script back and forth for a while. I'd give him all my work, and he'd come back with notes. But now what we've been able to amass after nearly a year now of developing this piece is something completely different to what I initially started out with. So this has been something that's been kind of keeping my sanity together. And pieces of it have made their way into my stand-up just to try to work it out and see if it see how it sounds to an audience. But yeah, no, it's been a great period to write. I miss performing, but I've found a love of writing, like just actually like writing and developing a story and essay structure.
When did you start the Half a Star?
Thank you. Half a Star. The podcast began. We launched in May of 2020. It originally began as a two-person play that me and my co-host / best friend Ben, we wrote together one summer, 2018. We put it on at the Island Fringe Festival. People dug it, and the original story was two best friends who built a piece of theater together that they thought would be awesome, but then the world hated it, and it got a half a star review, and they blamed each other for it. And the story is them finding reconciliation, realizing their friendship means more than the project. So we came back to that and decided, hey, a podcast would be cool. What are other bad ideas? So we invite guests to come on and share their best, worst idea, because we believe often a bad idea turns into a great story. So some people will come on and share a personal experience. They're like, this was terrible, but it was one hell of a story, and it's usually hilarious. Other times people have they found something that in the world that fascinates them that they think is kind of cool. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to work on.
Now, besides Half a Star or links to Half a Star, your website also has links to some of your recordings, including your bootleg album.
Yeah,
how much of the content on that bootleg album is part for your one-man show that you're planning, or is there any crossover?
Initially, a lot of it was actually this show right here. That was January 4th, 2020. I kept the poster because I thought it looked cool. A a lot of what came into the first draft of the solo show that I'm working on, the very first kind of like just kind of write what I know, it was largely most of it. But now all that remains is the last kind of the last part. There's like one premise that is very very crucial, and we kind of knew from the get-go. It was a moment of total embarrassment, even worse than bombing on stage. A story that was one of the first sets I ever did, and it stuck with me for over close to 7 years now. A story of a bathroom misadventure that is kind of taken on a life of its own. So now that'll be in my solo play. At least I will say, in my first solo show, my pants came off. My next one, they probably will too.
Well, that's a promise to be made for the audience. We've been talking for close to an hour yet already, but I do want to touch on maybe the changes. I mean, you did have a chance to tour, but not as much as you possibly could have if COVID was not a thing.
Yeah.
And you got into the podcasting world partially because of this downtime.
Yeah.
Do you think that online comedy, or the ability for people to go online, because you've been part of BattleCom, etc. Do you think that's going to phase out soon as everyone's got their vaccine, or do you think this is going to just be a new angle? What is your thoughts? I'm sort of just putting things out there.
I think now, especially in this, I don't know if it's technically a second wave or just still an extension of the first wave. I don't want to say this is the second wave, because it's like, this wasn't even close to the second wave. It hasn't even come yet. Like, oh shit. But I think now I'm noticing since around the holidays, especially like November-ish, the people from a comedian perspective, people who were kind of grumbling and complaining, like, virtual comedy, that's no way, never gonna do it, never gonna try it, watch it, produce it, never gonna do it. Now they're starting to come around and they, all right, well, so I feel like if those people who were so against it are now doing it, and the people who kind of dived in very early on, I know you were one of them. I think Tim Riel's Codenames, was that born out of the lockdown?
Yes, yeah. I think that was born out of lockdown as well.
I think so. Guys like you two with your shows, maybe with my podcast, I think we would have done it anyway. This was just kind of the kick in the butt. But now you folks have been able to nurture and really develop this show that as we're still coasting right into this terrible pandemic, I think you have an even better product than what was there before. When things turn around again, I feel like there will be diminished returns, but I think now it's becoming entrenched in people's minds that, like, okay,
it's going to be a new outlet or a new way to reach audience members.
Yeah, and I think there is some correlation though between people coming around and trying it and the shows, the quality themselves, like how they're being produced. Like I said from the first time I was on the online version of BattleCom, like I was just so taken with like everything, and I still am. Like I feel like I'm on the news right now. Like what? Like I got a website there. Like, what? This is crazy.
I'm just StreamYard. Those are the people that give me the tools to do it.
It's fantastic, and I do think from producer side, like all this kind of stuff, like I really respect and admire. I do think as a performer, what I'm trying to do now is live up to my end, both as in terms of writing, and performance, but also just technically, like really, shave. It doesn't, I don't have much to shave, but clean up, treat it like a gig, treat it like a real gig. What are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting for things to go back to normal? It's going to be a minute. Like, what are you waiting for? Just do it. what do you have to lose? Nobody cares about you more than you, so just do it. It's not that it's fun too, right? When the right people do it. That's like saying you don't like books. You know, that's stupid. You'll find one you like.
Doing trying to do stand up on the virtual space is I found more difficult because I'm not able to read the audience as well.
It's incredibly hard. You have to. That's why I like BattleCom as a panel show. Tim's board game show is really cool. I've done a fair share of online trivia with Hub of the Hammer. They're keeping my shirt on, man. The trivia though, we pitch it as like comedy trivia, so I can like work in material with it. Sometimes we can open with like a monologue or something. But a person who I say is killing it, he's a professional. Like it's Mike Forbiglia. He's doing fantastic. If you've watched Working It Out, the virtual comedy show, he's obviously got a crew. He's got like a film crew, multicam. He gets it. He like takes the camera with him. Like they move to different parts of his workspace. It's visually engaging. So everything that's in the background, it might look commonplace, but it's quite intentional. It's part of the experience. But he knows to keep it short. He keeps it about an hour. He breaks it up into 3 or 4 segments. So some of it's like stand up. He's not trying to fool anybody into thinking this is just like being at the club. He's found an angle of it that really works. He's got a team of people that they keep maybe 10 or 15 mics on at a time out of like 700. So you can actually hear the laugh in real time. The spotlight is on him, so the camera's not like going everywhere. But to that end, he's got at least 6 or 8 people working with him on the back end to make that happen. And we're pretty good, Paul, you and me, but do we have that kind of money to pay a staff?
We don't actually. If anyone wants to support the channel, there's just running underneath right now is the link so people can support the channel, support the shows that I'm doing. And Tim Rocliffe, again, as part of the audience, I appreciate the distraction because people who stuck at home now are looking for things maybe not produced in the United States, stuff to focus on Canadian performers. And I'm saying that next Tuesday I have Deb DeGiovanni on the show.
Really?
But last week I had Chris Fonseca, who is based in Denver, who just opened for Chappelle in December. So
you got me as the bathroom break of acts.
You were the guy that I canceled on just because I actually found a way to make money. So
that's where I stand in all this. Like, these guys, Justin, who I bailed on for a real job. I will say I was on Mike Birbiglia's show. If we're shoehorning in credits here now, Paul.
Shoehorn it in. I don't know what that was. But...
Shoehorn. What is a shoehorn? Oh, anyway. I know we're getting on in the length here, but one of his segments is it's called the Slow Round, and it's based on this podcast where he interviews a guest and asks them a question, usually from their past. And one of them is, what's a memory from your childhood that plays in a constant loop in your head? You don't know why. And he put out a call to message his producer to say, if you have something like a story, message, and if we like it, we'll put you on. So I messaged, like a million other people did, and his producer picked mine for one of the shows, and I got to go on kind of like this and tell my weird little story about when I was 5 and I was helping my dad, who's a carpenter, go to pick up some supplies from a warehouse at a friend's place. And in this warehouse, there was a bathtub filled with orange liquid soap that nobody talked about. He just said, don't messed around over there. And because it's a story, I messed around over there. So I'm standing on a stack of wood, and I just seen the movie Tom and Huck, and Tom was like doing this cool little balance beam thing to impress Becky Thatcher or Hatcher, and I tried to do that, and much like Tom, I fell into the mess. I fell into the soap, covered head to toe in orange soap. My dad just goes, picks me up, puts me in the truck, seatbelts me, goes back to finish his work, eventually drives me home, puts his blue overcoat on me that's like 16 sizes too big, hands me back to my mom, and just says, deal with it. And she takes me, puts me in the bathtub, and has to wash the soap off of me, which is a funny thing to say. And as I'm sitting there, sitting in my second bathtub of the day, I'm thinking, this is a lot of bathtub for one day. That was the story.
Take the hose to you in the garden, but
yeah, he did. Okay, this is a different thing. One time I got paint in my hair when I was 18, but it was oil based, and soap wasn't getting it out, so we poured gasoline on my hair to get it out. My dad's a
your dad doesn't smoke.
Not anymore. I did after.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, Justin. Thank you. Any last minute things that you want to promote that you are doing before we tune off?
Yeah, I mean, come on Instagram. I would suggest you can follow me, Wrath of Shaw, Wrath_of_Shaw. If you like the podcast I do, it's me and my bud Ben. We're on Instagram, half.ad.star. I think you'll find it. He's got,
and the links are all on the website as well.
We're messing around with a lot of weird stuff right now on our podcast, trying to build some anticipation for season 2. One of which is we released a full-length radio play over the holidays, which is a Christmas parody of the film Armageddon. We reimagined it as a Hallmark Christmas movie. It's insane. Check it out. It's better. Like, you'd be like, oh, this is like 2-bit. We got effects
for Christmas.
That's what it's called. Yes.
Armageddon for Christmas. Thank you, Justin. Check out his website. Follow him on social media. My name is Paul Ash. They Talk Funny. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like on this and subscribe to the They Talk Funny channel. It's that one. It's down that way.
Is that why you brought me on? Because I talk funny with the Stuart McLean voice? Is that?
That was they. Actually, I used to have a little promo CD when I toured that I'd give out, and it was called He Talks Funny, and that's where the name comes from. So if anyone has that DVD, it is probably still worthless.
Are you still technically an emerging artist?
Did I tag you out as an emerging artist?
Are you an emerging artist technically still, Paul?
Well, yeah, I might be stillborn at this point.
Declining artist is where I'm at right now.
I'm no longer considered a future artist because I'm at an age where people doubt I have a future. So this is self-deprecating at a new level.
Yeah.
My name is Paul Ash. It's just 7 letters. Justin D for Douglas Shaw is over there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a pleasant time, and I'll see you next week when we talk to Deb DiGiovanni. See if I can pronounce her name properly then.